Well, it's going to be very interesting if Trump does go into Fort Knox and we see how much actually we have in gold reserves.
Right.
I hope he does.
Even if they have all, I think it's $700 billion worth.
It's not even a drop in the bucket
Yeah.
to support the currency that we have.
Right. It doesn't even add up. Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people steal from me as well in gold and pinching gold my whole life. And I was very naive like the public is now. I would think that nobody would steal and then come into somebody's living room and look them in the face. I thought that nobody would do that, but they do. I just wanted the thieving to stop. Before I understood people's capacity to steal, I would think, oh, this guy's a trustworthy guy or this guy's this, but they were robbing me left and right. And I struggled for many years because of that. You seem like a very blessed person. You've got a family, you've made it to this age, successful, you've got your pomegranate wine. You've got it all, it seems like to me. What's the secret sauce here? Like how did you pull it off without, you've seen people's lives be destroyed.
I have, yes.
Many people.
Many.
Divorce, drugs, jail, death, and some other tragedy. Anything you want to share with us on that end?
Well, listen, that's just life. Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. I have a very interesting guest today. You don't always have to have a celebrity or somebody in the media or somebody in the limelight or an ex-cop or an ex-FBI agent or somebody of that caliber on. Sometimes you just want somebody that's done something with their life and has something to share. And this young man that I have on, he's very successful today. As a matter of fact, he's in the jewelry business in New York, downtown in Manhattan, in the jewelry exchange. A lot of competition down there. Young man started out when he was 18 years old. He's now 38 years old. Past 20 years, he's really made a success of himself. He was actually in the movie Uncut Gems. I don't know if any of you saw that movie. Great film. But he was, one of the jewelry guys in there. But built a great business. But he has a lot to say. And, very encouraging when you see somebody start out young. He, at one time, was going in the wrong direction. Fortunately, he had a good father at home, straightened his head out, went in the right direction, really made something of himself. So he's got a lot to share. And people, you should listen to this, You don't have to, like I always say, listen to somebody that's made it and that, is a celebrity or somebody of that caliber or has a real story to tell. But this is a very interesting, I call him a young man, old enough to be his dad, who I think has something very valuable to share. So without any further delay, here's my good friend. I'm going to call him by his first name, Max. So Max.
Hey, Mike, thank you for having me here. It's an amazing place.
Appreciate it. You're a very interesting guy.
Thank you.
You go back 20 years in the jewelry business,
Yep.
did out of nothing, nowhere. You've got some good celebrity clients, I understand.
Yeah.
And you've been in that great movie, Uncut Gems.
Yep.
All right, so where do you want to begin?
Well, listen, I mean, I've built my business around gold, which did wonders for me. And, before we were talking, you mentioned that you were, you had some experience with gold. I mean, you've been around for a long, long time. Did you ever put gold away or did you invest your money? How did you get around?
I did put gold away. I did invest in it because I looked at it this way.
Right.
It'll go up and down, but it'll always have a value.
Yeah.
No matter what. It's not
Right.
like a stock that could crash.
Right.
Gold will always have a value.
Right.
Precious metals,
Right.
but mostly gold.
Right.
Things changed here in the United States when gold wasn't supporting the currency anymore.
Right. That was a big deal, and that's why we're having a lot of
Huge.
issues now because, the uncontrolled spending, there was no accounting for it, and that's what they're doing now with the Doge and coming up with the trillions of missing dollars.
Well, it's going to be very interesting if Trump does go into Fort Knox and we see how much actually we have in gold reserves.
Right.
I hope he does.
Even if they have everything that they're looking for, even if they have all, I think it's $700 billion worth.
It's not even a drop in the bucket
Yeah.
to support the currency that we have. My friends, I've seen quite a bit in my life. I know what it is to have money. I know what it is to have power. I know what it is to have control, not only in my business, but over people. And let me tell you this, Wall Street, Washington, they play the same games as we did on the street. Make no mistake about that. They make the rules. They cash in, and regular people like us, they're left holding the bag. Our debt, out of control. The dollar, it's losing value by the day. Don't let anybody tell you any differently. And the market, it's rigged for the people at the top. That's right. You don't need a crystal ball to see where this is all heading. So what do? You take control. You protect what's yours. That's why I turned to American Hartford Gold. They help people like you and me get into something real, physical gold and silver. There's no gimmicks, no empty promises, just a solid way to keep your wealth safe. You can get gold and silver shipped straight to your door, or you can set up a gold IRA to help your retirement funds dodge taxes legally. We're allowed to do that, as long as it's legal, and their customer service, top notch. They make the whole process very simple, very secure, very straightforward. These guys are the best in the business, trust me. They have an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and thousands, I mean thousands of 5-star reviews. And right now they're giving up to 15 grand in free silver with your first purchase. $15,000. All you got to do is call 866-703-5957 or text CAPO, that's C-A-P-O, to 65532. Listen, times are tough. We know that. But you don't have to get played by the big guys. Be tougher than them. Be smarter. Call American Hartford Gold today at 866-703-5957 or text CAPO, C-A-P-O, to 65532. Or you can click the link in the description below. People, this is an offer you can't afford to refuse.
Right. It doesn't even add up because, you know, a company like Amazon, I think Amazon by itself is $2 trillion. That's one US company.
Right.
Imagine all the property and all of the stocks and everything in the United States. And you're talking about everything. You're talking about your home and this and that, valued in gold, and there's only $700 billion to value it. So all of those experiences that you probably experienced over your lifetime, the increase in evaluation in property, that people can't afford a home, or the crazy stock values that went up for the number of, you know, the past 30 years or so, where people could have invested, you know, a couple of $1,000 and you know, had crazy returns. All of that, it's in my theory personally, is fueled by out of control money printing.
Of course.
And where we're at now is that you're either going to continue to print vast amounts, or and then the currency is going to eventually inflate away into nothingness, or you stop printing and you take a massive financial hit. And well, that's why I kind of stuck between the United States kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And you know, they're trying to do something about it with Doge and things like that, cut the spending. That's why Elon Musk jumped in there. That's what he says.
Yeah.
But if they fail at that task, gold might be back as a big deal as it has been for the thousands of years. That's kind of something that I teach my clients, so that they know when they're buying a gold chain, they're not buying a piece of luxury. They're buying something that can pay for itself and then give them dividends off a chain.
Max, it's just a matter of time if
Right.
we don't get a hold of the spending
Right.
and all of this. Listen, there's no surprise to me. All this fraud and all the kickbacks and all the wasteful money.
Right.
You're printing money. It's what is it? You know,
Right.
what's standing behind this? The good faith of the United States
Right.
of America.
Right.
Well, that good faith is becoming less and less and less meaningful as we just keep printing more money and
Right.
wasting it everywhere else.
Right.
So
Let me ask you, when you were you were in the gas business or something like that, and you were making money, exactly how? Like you were
we're defrauding the government out of tax.
right.
Absolutely.
It's just the tax, right?
Just the tax, yeah.
Right. So
That was our profit.
right. That's interesting. I mean, that's you know, it's not the worst person to defraud on a scale of things, I suppose. You know, but the whole government's being defrauded left and right. But stealing is stealing, nonetheless.
Well, the government is being defrauded from ineffectiveness and just
It's being prostituted. It's not even being
well, it's
defrauded.
not that people are just so ineffective. They put people into positions that have no business acumen whatsoever.
Right.
That's number one. Plus, they're corrupt to begin with, many of them.
So how did you find this loophole to exploit? And how long did you exploit it for?
We did it for almost 8 years.
Right.
But it's basically, look, the government normally is well behind people that have a business experience,
Right.
knowledgeable
Right.
wise. And, you know, we just devised a scheme to collect the tax
Mm-hmm.
and not pay the government the tax.
Right.
And we would run, I had 18 different shell companies
Right.
that were licensed to collect the tax.
Right.
And it would take the government 10 months to a year before they'd come down on a company that wasn't paying the tax.
Right.
So we would just close the doors and move on to the next license,
Right.
different part of town.
Right.
So they couldn't figure it out.
They couldn't. Yeah, it was somewhere lost in the paperwork in the system. Oh, whoop, company's closed.
Yeah. Well, they say, you know, that we're going to audit you. We're going to, and that takes a month or 2 months or 3 months. You write them a letter back. Okay, we'll comply. They won't comply.
So
can
you
screw
use
them
their
around.
bullshit against them, essentially,
Totally.
right?
Totally.
And how did you figure this out exactly? Did someone put you on, or?
Yeah, it was my partner that, you know, said, I think we can do something like this. A guy approached me and he said,
Wow.
with your help and, you know, your knowledge and your connections, we can make it work.
Oh, wow.
And we did.
Right. So you that's a crazy loophole to exploit. And so you collect it from the gas stations. They think they're paying their tax.
Collected from the gas stations
Right.
or wholesalers that had to buy it from
Right.
you with the tax included.
Right. So how many, yeah, the question becomes, you know, in today's government, how many people are stealing on that level or beyond that?
Well, it's all
Far
coming out.
beyond. Right.
It's all coming out. When Clinton's daughter, Chelsea Clinton,
You got
is
70
getting
million.
$80 million for
Right.
Haiti and spends $9 million on a house and $3 million on a wedding, and nobody knows where the balance is.
Right.
This is commonplace. This has
Yeah.
been happening left and right everywhere.
And it's just you know, the average person is naive to how people can steal. Maybe in your background, you understood that, you saw thieves your whole life, I guess, right?
My whole life, yeah.
Yeah, people, you know, who don't want to work and want to take money, essentially.
Mhm.
And you were able to do that.
Well, let me tell you something too. Stealing money is a lot of work also.
Right, I suppose.
I had a big operation. You know,
Yeah.
I had a lot of people working for me, and it was a complicated scheme to make it work. So
Right.
we worked. We just worked illegally.
Well, on the scale of stealing, I mean, what you were doing is you know, stealing is stealing. Let's just keep it real, right? You would agree.
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, but what you were doing was more or less in the most grayest area in the between the black and the white. You know, the government, gas taxes, they would have took that money and burnt it anyway. They would have wasted it, printed it, sent it over Hillary's daughter, who the hell knows?
Wherever.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of people steal from me as well, in gold and pinching gold my whole life. And I was very naive, like the public is now. I would think that nobody would ever do something. Nobody would steal and then come into somebody's living room and look them in the face. I thought that nobody would do that, you know, but they do. And if only the public would understand that these people are a den of thieves, life would be a little bit easier. And that's
You
kind
know,
of
you don't want to throw a blanket over everybody.
right.
Obviously, we have a lot of good, honest, decent people
Sure.
working in
2 or
government.
3.
Working in government. What we had in the past 4 years
Right.
is a corrupt administration.
Right.
Very corrupt.
Just the past 4 years?
Well, for sure, in the past 4 years, it's become.
Right.
I think with social media,
Right.
the level of corruption has been to a degree I've never witnessed before.
Right.
I was on the street for over 20 years,
Right.
so I know what corruption is.
Yeah.
I've never witnessed something so out there.
Right, right, right.
People don't even care anymore.
They don't.
People get on video and say something one day and lie about it the next day, and they don't even care.
Well, thieves get bolder and bolder, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the thieving started when they went off the gold reserve in 1971.
Right.
And you know, at first you're like, I wonder if they'll notice if I take this. I wonder if they notice if I take that check. Then the thieving really went down in the first Iraq War. Right, so that was the Republicans stealing. They saw the contracts, people got rich, ripping off the government. Then Clinton came in, and I don't know what stealing he was doing, what he got away with over there. I really don't know. But and you know, they had surpluses, so they're printing money here and they're pretending they have a surplus, so on and so forth. And then 9/11 hit, and George Bush Jr. And Dick Cheney, Dick Cheney saw that an opportunity to go for the big score. So they went in Iraq and washed huge amounts of money. Iraq, Afghanistan, talking about trillions of dollars. You're talking about enough to change this country over 4 or 5 times. I don't even know. And then COVID was the big heist, you know? So you're talking about the gas, or you're talking about that. I mean, the heists in front of people's faces on a scale that aren't you can't even imagine. That's why I was kind of going crazy when you were talking to Bill Maher. I was watching that podcast, and you know, he's talking about a bunch of bullshit, and you're trying to tell him, you know, Trump this, and Trump gives you a chance or like to put things back together. He's like, yeah, I understand. He's your guy and this and that. It's not the case to me. I'm sorry for my language, but it's the people don't understand the scale of the theft of the trillions of dollars and the small little historical chance that this guy turned his head and the bullet went this way and Elon Musk walked in there to do Doge, that we have a chance to even reconcile that before the country goes bankrupt. I wish they would understand that.
Well, you know what, Max? It's you have to understand sometimes the mentality of people. Very difficult.
Right.
Like people, "Oh, you're a Trump supporter. You drank the Trump Kool-Aid." I
Right.
tell people, listen, I'm 74 years old.
Right.
I'm drinking no Kool-Aid. I have one hero in my life, and
Yeah.
it's Jesus Christ. That's it. Nobody else.
Right.
I respect people. I looked up. I admire people that have accomplished things. But Trump isn't doing anything for me personally,
Right.
other than what he's doing for my country, and I've
Right.
become a recipient of that of the success that we hope he had.
Right.
And what people don't understand, I, if the guy is up there trying to rescue the country,
Right.
by getting to the bottom of the fraud and the waste and the
Right.
abuse of taxpayer money.
Right.
Remember, you pay your taxes.
Yeah.
I pay mine.
Right.
I didn't cause this country to go $36 trillion in debt.
Nope.
Neither did you. Neither did any innocent person out there paying their taxes,
Right.
trying to make a living. It's the irresponsible people in government that have done this.
Right.
And for anybody to be upset that we are reining them in.
Why didn't you tell that to Bill Maher?
Okay.
Because I wish I would have
Well,
heard.
I did in a way, you know, but you go with the flow of the conversation. I
Right.
wasn't looking to get into an argument with
Sure.
him, you know. But, you know, anybody that's against that, you have
Right.
to ask, well, why?
Right.
Well, maybe a guy like Bill Maher who pays his tax and
Right.
lives in a luxury place and doesn't feel what
Right.
other people feel.
Sure.
Imagine struggling to go and put food on your table, working 2 jobs, working 10 hours a day,
And get
put
nothing.
food on your table, and then find out your taxpayer money is going to pay some inmate to have transsexual surgery.
At the
Or
least.
DEI in Afghanistan, wherever the hell they're spending this money. You got to be outraged.
Yeah.
For people to be against that is very suspicious.
Yeah.
Why would you be against trying to rein in this crazy spending and waste of taxpayer dollars?
Right.
Whether it be if Biden did this, Biden, great. I love you.
No, I mean it's completely ridiculous. You know, I mean on the left side of things. When I was a kid, you know, because when I was a kid, I used to think, oh, Obama's a great president, and you know, healthcare.gov and all this other. And then I realized when he dropped healthcare.gov, and it didn't even work when they opened it up. And you have the power of the federal government, and you're trying to do a healthcare, and like you're waiting 2 terms. It was like his second term, and they're finally ready to reveal this Obamacare, whatever it might be. And when the website didn't work, when he dropped it, I realized it was all bullshit. The scales kind of fell from my eyes.
Total BS.
Yeah.
They pulled the wool over everybody's eyes with that.
Yeah.
He just pushed it through. There was nothing to it.
Yeah, it was pretending that, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Then I realized, like, you know, I would think there's no way it's a president of the United States, federal government, this is the real deal, that this guy's just sitting here and pretending to be working or pretending to be working on something. And
Remember, your premiums are not going to go up. You can
Yeah.
still maintain your same doctor. It was all a
he
lie.
doesn't even know what the fuck he was talking about. That's
So-
really what it was. It wasn't even so much of a lie as it was, you know, Obama would sit in a room and he'd be like, this is the idea. And they'd be like, yeah, we're going to do it. Yeah. What do you want us to do? Yeah, build a website. Okay. $2 million, give me half my million, give me this, give me that. And nothing ever happened with that. And then he ran to Google to do
I'll give
it.
him a pass. It was a lie.
Right.
Plain and simple. And if he didn't investigate it to the point that he should have,
Right.
and it was going to impact the American people in the wrong way, it's a lie.
Right.
The same like Biden. Oh, Biden wasn't responsible. Biden was responsible.
Right.
He took the oath. He became president, and there's no excuse for him to be a puppet.
Right.
He's a bad guy. He was totally corrupt. He robbed this country as vice president.
Yeah.
He was treasonous,
Treason.
and he sold us out at the border, both north and south, and everything else that he did. He
Right.
killed people in Afghanistan. He's got blood in his hands here in the United States. People that came in that were murderers and murdered people in our own country. You're treasonous when you do that.
Yeah.
You're worse than any mob guy I ever knew on the street. Because
Exactly.
you took an oath to benefit people. And look what you did. He should be ashamed of himself, the guy, and anybody that supported him should be the same
Right.
in the administration. People on the street that voted him, they don't know any better. You
Right.
can't even hold these people responsible. They're out there working, they hear something, they don't watch Fox News, they watch MSNBC. Oh, he's a great guy, so they vote. They don't know any
Right.
better. Can't get mad at the people. You get mad at the people that support him in office, the
Right.
media that lied about him for 4 years.
Right.
Okay, Harris, another despicable human being. I'm sorry. How do you have the audacity to run for president? You couldn't even be a school teacher.
Right. Yeah.
You
No, I
have
mean
no
that's
knowledge of
crazy.
running this country. These are bad people.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they could get the support and you know, that delusion that permeates. You say, you know, the average person they shouldn't be blamed, but I think that they should. If you think Kamala something's wrong with you. If you think Kamala would have been a competent person to manage the world's problems today, someone who's just pretending and telling you what you want to hear. Okay, we're this, we're
You
that.
know, like people on the street, you're just misinformed and uneducated.
Right.
They don't look. You have the luxury. You own a company. You got time. You can research a candidate. You can do your work.
Yeah,
These poor people are working 8, 10 hours a day.
you're right.
They don't have time to do all of this. They hear something, the news, their family says, oh, she's a good person, Biden's a good person, and they vote. It's hard to blame people that don't have the time to
Yeah.
really look into
Blaming
this.
doesn't do much for
Yes.
anybody anyway. You know, to be honest.
Well, sometimes it does, because if you can blame the people and hold them accountable while
Right.
they're doing this stuff, then you can get some correctness.
Right.
I believe
Right.
Trump should go after every one of them.
Yeah.
Hold them accountable. Biden's never going to jail. He's his own special counsel said he's
Pardoned
doing
himself. He pardoned his whole
Pardoned
family
his whole family.
before he left.
Do you hear the mainstream media talking about that?
They don't.
No.
No.
Why
Yeah,
would
they
you
never talk
pardon-
about anything that's
why-
in
why would
reality.
you
Yeah.
pardon people that were never charged, never indicted, going back 11 years
Yeah.
for crimes known or unknown?
Right. That's
Why do you need a pardon
that's
for that?
insane. I never heard.
Somebody said to me or you, I'll pardon you for anything you did in the last 10 years. I'd say, what for? I didn't do anything. But if there's something, oh yeah, okay, I'll take it. Because maybe there's something I did that is shady that I want to be
The best
pardoned.
one is that they pardoned Fauci. That is
I'll tell you what they
ridiculous.
should do with Fauci.
Right.
Remember, pardons are only good on
What were they doing the mob in Fauci?
Pardons are only good on the federal level.
Yeah, the state
You
level.
should
is-
go after them on the state.
Yeah, what's taking so long on that?
Who knows? You know, the government doesn't work quick.
Yeah.
What Trump is doing now is like you've never seen anything like this in your life.
Right.
The speed at which he's moving to make some, sense of it.
He's also in a dangerous area. I mean, he does a lot of wild stuff. So I hope he pulls through and he doesn't give him ammunition to attack him. You know, the
Well, he already is.
needless things like Trump coin and whatever.
He already is. I'll tell you what he's making, in my view anyway, making a mistake. He's rightfully letting go all of these public people that work for the government.
Right.
But I think his attitude towards it is not good, because
What's
these
wrong?
people
Yeah.
are going to vote one day.
Right.
I mean, it's getting people out of their jobs. There's got to be Trump sometimes doesn't have a soft delivery. He doesn't
Right.
know how to get things across. I think he would have been a president in the second term had he toned down some of his rhetoric.
Right.
But I understand him. He's a New Yorker. We're New Yorkers. We
Yeah.
go after people.
He is who he is, and you know, there's benefits and there's detriments in his personality, on the way he communicates. Some people will never just stand behind him on that end,
No.
and he puffs up a lot of the same stuff. You know, my crowd, or
He
this time, you know, I won by this many points. It was a beautiful victory. It was a this. It was a that.
Pats himself on the back. quite
Yeah, and you know, that's not an inspiring Gettysburg Address, but I personally don't really care about that. I just wanted the thieving to stop. You know, like, it's hard to get ahead in this country for one reason. You know, you're talking about this is the year 2025. It's a technologically advanced civilization we're at over here with AI and everything. There shouldn't be a reason for somebody to be sleeping in a cardboard box in the street unless something's wrong. It's just you know, a lot of theft beyond the scale of what people understand. For me in the diamond district and in the jewelry business, before I understood people's capacity to steal, you know, I would think, oh, this guy's a trustworthy guy or this guy's this, but they were robbing me left and right, and I struggled for many years because of that. So that's really kind of like, you know, what I wanted to explain. I mean, you were in the business, you were defrauding the government, they couldn't catch up to you for a very long time. 8 years. And how much money were you able to make across that time?
Several hundred million.
Several $100 million. And
Let me clarify. Not personally made.
for the
I
family,
had several $100 million.
for the
Yeah.
for the Colombo family, was it? Or
Yeah.
and what was the split there? Or if you're allowed to say, I don't know.
Well, I mean, there was one point in time I was giving my boss $2 million a week. Significant money.
Right. And you were never tempted to say, what was your boss doing for you that you're giving out 2 million?
It's part of life. It's just the way it is.
That's the code.
You give back to the family. Yeah.
That's the code.
Yeah.
So you really stuck to the code. What are the tenements of the
I
code?
did during that life.
Right.
Yeah. Listen, you're respectful to one another. You don't lie, steal, or cheat. Okay.
Right.
And you're honorable in business.
But those are the rules. But how many people would follow the rules, or how many people would get checked on following the rules on that end?
Well, listen, I just interviewed sat down with a former FBI agent that was
Right.
assigned to the Genovese family. There
Right.
was a squad, and if you listen to you hear some of the things that he heard on wiretaps and surveillance, objects. People were backstabbing people all the time.
Of course.
So, but look, listen, is it any different in government? Is it any different in corporate America?
No.
The difference on the street is that the consequences are more severe.
Right.
You could lose your life.
Right.
You could get hurt.
Right.
In government, it's different.
Right.
And in corporate America, it's different.
And you
go
were
to jail.
born into this, right?
Yeah.
So was it a big break when you found that you could defraud the government from this tax money? That must have been a fantastic 8 years. Or was it?
Well, yeah. I mean,
You had a good time.
I had no problem defrauding the government. I thought the government was corrupt.
Right.
So, I thought I could do better with the money than they could. Number
Yeah.
one. Number two, we were stealing the tax money, but we were giving people at the pump a break
Ah,
because we were sharing the money with people at the pump. Our gas was cheaper.
but that's good. At least you
Yeah.
did that.
So
Got some
people,
good karma.
we had lines outside of our stations all the time.
Hey, listen, I mean, you seem like a very blessed person. You've got a family, you've got 4 kids, you got a household, you got a wife, and you made it to this age successful. You've got your pomegranate wine, you've got your regular wine. You've got it all, it seems like to me. And what's the secret sauce here? Like, how did you pull it off without, you've seen people's lives be destroyed, I'm sure.
I have, yes.
Many people.
Many, yes.
Divorce, drugs, jail, death, and some other tragedy. Anything you want to share with us on that end?
Well, listen, that's just life. We see that everywhere in every city in every country around the world.
Right.
We have.
But what about your decision-making process that got you out of all of that and into a podcast with products like pomegranate wine and things like that? Was it your decisions? Is it the proverbs that you have tattooed? You got those in jail, I'm assuming, or
No, I got them outside of jail, but they were two Bible verses that had a severe,
significant?
impact on me.
Where were they?
Proverbs 16:7. When a man's ways are pleasing to the Lord, even his enemies are at peace with him.
That's beautiful.
And Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him. And this is the important verse. He will make your path straight.
Right.
So they had a tremendous impact on me in prison, and I decided never to forget them. So
Right.
every morning I remind myself,
Wonderful.
because you always got to remember where you came from and how
Right.
good God has blessed you. But what's the secret? There's no secret.
Right.
It's just, with my case, I realized that the life I was living
Right.
was a dead-end street for me at some point. I was too high profile.
Mhm.
I was indicted 7 times. I went to trial 5 times. I
Right.
got arrested 18 times. So
Right.
how much more am I going to beat them?
Right.
Fortunately, I beat them 5 times on trial, but at some point it's
Yeah.
going to end.
I mean, you beat them 5 trial. It was a jury trial.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
I had 5 juries.
I mean, listen, you're a charismatic guy. You're tall. You're handsome. I'm sure that played a part and saved the day. Because if you were some creature, they would have locked you up. I mean, I think that might have been it.
No, it has nothing. Look,
No.
they never had a real strong, solid case against me.
No.
Remember, when you're on the street, investigative process is different. Normal investigation, a crime is committed,
Right.
and they go find out who committed the crime.
Right.
when you're on the street, organized crime, mafia, they investigate you
Yeah.
and try to figure out if you commit a crime.
Yeah.
So it's a backwards way of investigation.
Right.
So they don't always hit,
Right.
you know? And so I was fortunate, and then I beat them 5 times.
Right. But
and
they
had good
they
cases.
had you on a jury trial. They had you in the box or the
Not
witness stand. I mean, the stress of that must have been enormous, no? Or you play it cool or what?
It's not a question of
Because
playing
it's
cool.
annoying with the lawyers.
It's yeah, obviously, and it's a waste of time because you can't do anything else.
Right.
You're on trial, it's 8 hours a day, you know. And
Right.
plus, you gotta prepare for the case every day. I mean, it's very time consuming, but stressful. I don't know. I mean, my life has been one way, so whether it's stress or not, I don't even know.
What do you mean your life has been one way?
You know, it all depends on how you deal with things. So I grew up in that situation. I was used to it. It was part of my life. I watched my father. I
Right.
attended 3 of his trials. I visited him in prison for 20 years. It was just normal part of my life. So was it any more stressful? You may have more stress than me just on a daily basis, just doing your business
Yeah.
that I had on the street.
And then you
Yeah,
had
that's
in a trial for an indictment? I don't know about that, man.
Well, I'll tell you the stressful part. I'll tell you the most stressful part of all of it.
Right.
Standing in front of a jury,
Right.
waiting to hear one word.
Oh, guilty or not
Not.
guilty. Not.
all.
That's all you want to hear,
That's
right?
all you want to hear. And then you know you're free.
And that
So for that few moments,
right.
it's stressful.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
But other
So-
than that, you
So
just-
5 times you've been through that, and you sat there and you wriggled free 5 times. What do you celebrate after, or you go out?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a relief.
Right.
Celebrate relief, and then you go on to the next one.
Who did this mural for you right here, if you don't mind my asking?
Great artist. His name is Bowden Him,
Right.
and he's a tattoo artist, and obviously a tremendous artist. And he's got.
He did that, but that's celebrities in the movies I watched my whole life, and that was great. I've always been a fan of Italian culture. Period. I've been to Italy, and to Naples here, there, and the food, the wine, and whatever it is.
Great
The
country.
history is amazing. It's between Italy and Japan for me, are 2 favorite countries. But I never knew the real players and what they were doing. For me, I'm not a person who stole. I stole as a kid. I thought committing crimes was great idea until I got caught, slapped in the face by my father. And then I realized I don't need to do that. I need to figure out what to do for real, and that I don't have this weighing on me,
Father was a good man, and you finally learned.
Yes, that's right. I mean, that's what it takes, to wake you up sometimes, because talk doesn't really work all the time. You yap, and then you go do whatever you want after. But you got a mural of these real deal people. I mean, if I ever, I would run the other way, because I don't want to get caught up in a bunch of bullshit. But out of these, like, who's the people that you respected the most? If
Well, there were several, I mean, I knew many of these guys, and some of them were before my time, but
Right.
they're the most prominent. I mean, I think the guys that I knew personally and that I respected the most, Joe Colombo. I love Joe. He was a mentor of mine when my father went to prison.
right,
Carmine Persico was my boss. I loved him for a while. When I left the life, he wasn't happy, but we had a good relationship during my time.
So the first guy is Joe Colombo. He mentored you,
Yeah.
and was he running a family, or what was
Yeah,
he?
he was the head of the Colombo family.
All right.
He was a boss.
And how long has the Colombo family been in operation in the United States, or they came from Italy?
All the families, they were created as families by Lucky Luciano
Right.
in the mid 40s.
Right.
That's when he created the commission and the families and all of
Lucky
that. So
Luciano.
before that, guys were just running around.
So Lucky Luciano was in like the 30s, or the
Yeah,
40s.
30s, but he created the commission
Yeah.
in the early to mid 40s. That's
Right.
when he got everybody together and he organized us into who we.
Who's where did the term "made" or "not made"? Does that come from him?
Just when you take an oath.
Yeah, but who started the oath tradition? Does that go back to Italy, or?
Back to Italy, yeah.
All right, so that goes back to Italy. So Lucky Luciano, he started the commission and he organized the families, I suppose. But the activity and who's made and not made, and the oath goes back.
Process.
But that goes back a long
Goes
time.
back to Italy, yeah.
For how long?
Originated in Italy.
Right.
A couple of 100 years.
Because in the movies, being the made guy was the big deal.
Yeah.
Right. If you weren't a made guy, you were a criminal essentially. You're just somebody out in the street doing whatever. and you had to be Italian to be made. And then you get the protection of everyone else who's made. You're a group, right? So you're saying he's one of us, like they say in Goodfellas,
Yeah,
so to speak,
friend
right?
of ours.
Right, a friend of ours. Yeah, yeah. So you were born. You were born into the organization. Was your father made?
Yeah. Father was the underboss of the Colombo family all the
Oh,
time.
wow. And then you were made at how old?
I was 24.
You were 24. So you're a young guy.
Yeah.
Pricked your finger or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you were in there, and I guess that's that. I mean, I guess that's how that works. It's very interesting, to organize a group of people like that. Because I have a jewelry business. I don't have a corporation. I started my business when I was 18, and I didn't do it the corporate way. And I like to keep, I have individuals that work for me. I have 60 employees and a team of 60 people, and I find the loyal ones, the honest ones, and I, trying to bring them into a group. And it's an honest business. It's a straightforward business. There's no thieving of any sort or any criminal activity. But ultimately, it's a position of trust, and you want to be in a group that supports one another.
Mhm.
So that's essentially what that was for you.
Well, there was a little more to it than me. My dad got a 50-year prison sentence.
Oh, shit.
I was going to be a doctor, actually, but when my dad went away for essentially what was a life sentence, the best way to help him out was to become part of his life.
Right.
And that's what got me involved.
Right. So he went away. Did he die in prison or?
Oh, my father was, he did 40 years out of 50.
Wow. And he was paroled or?
He was paroled. He got out at the age of 100,
Get the fuck out.
and he passed away during the pandemic at the age of 103.
Wow. Yeah, my grandmother died at 101 during the pandemic from that bullshit Fauci shit. But wow, I mean, what was it like to walk out of prison at 100 years old? And how did he react when he got out? And
Well, he was an old man at that time.
right,
He was 100 years old. I mean,
was he able to
so he
adapt
survived.
to his new environment at home or wherever he was at?
Well, you gotta understand, during that time, my mother died,
Right,
and family broke up.
right.
So he came home to,
So just you, essentially.
no, I have a brother. He
Right,
came home to also, but the family was destroyed.
right,
So he was kind of lonely.
right,
My dad lived in New York. I'm out here in California.
right,
I have a sister, and he was living with her for a while.
right.
But it was just sad.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
do 40 years in prison. What is your life like when you come home at 100
Nothing.
years old?
At 100 years old. Yeah,
Just you're living out the rest of your life. That's
and
it.
I mean, you guys got good genes to make it 104. To make it through a 50-year prison sentence and get paroled after 40 years. I couldn't even comprehend that, man.
Well, it's sad.
And you would visit him or you talk to him, or how often would you write to your father while he was in there?
I didn't write that much. I visited him.
Right, you visited him, right?
At least, initially the visiting was only once a month, so I would go once a month.
Right.
And then it got easier, and we would go more often.
And he went inside for, I mean, for that type of time, it had to be a serious violent crime.
Supposedly masterminded
Oh.
a nationwide string of bank robberies.
Right,
My father was framed. He
right.
wasn't guilty of that case.
Wow.
Yeah, he was framed. He did 40 years for a crime he didn't commit.
Get that. Yeah, that a lot of people probably are doing it, in this tragic world. Instead of the criminals. So, just to put a dome over everything that we were saying, I got robbed or I suffered theft and gold and vast losses, and you were on the other side of that spectrum, with the government, and you made money. And did you do any good things with that money that you?
No, absolutely.
A lot of things. You help a lot of people out. I mean, when it was flowing in like
I helped
crazy?
family out. I was good in my neighborhood. We helped out our neighborhood quite a bit. A lot of us did that. Our neighborhoods were in good shape.
Right. This was in the 90s,
80s, 70s and 80s.
70s, and 80s. Wow. Yeah. Back then it was a free for all.
And was I, philanthropist at that point? No, I can't say I was that, but I helped my family out. Obviously, I was pretty generous with people,
Right.
and I took care of myself. So
You had to take go to a low point to open up your eyes. Was that when you were in jail and you became a
I met
follower of Christ
met
or
a
whatever?
woman who you met that married to him 40 years, and she was a life-changing.
Right. Your wife.
Yeah,
How does she do? How does she pull that off? How does she influence you?
because she was a good person,
Right.
and she was 20 years old.
Right.
And I knew that if I married her and stayed in the life,
Right.
eventually I was either going to go to jail or get killed.
Right.
So why would I bring her into that life
Right.
after I had the experience and I knew what it was all about? So,
Right.
and she
So you got lucky. I mean, if you didn't meet this woman,
got blessed.
you got blessed.
Yes.
So that's nice. Okay.
There's no luck. There's
I suppose not.
you get luck at the craps table.
Sure.
In life, there's blessings or there's heartaches. It's one of
Right.
the two.
Right. So I mean, you definitely were blessed in that sense. You know what I'm saying? But if you didn't, where did you meet this woman?
I was filming a movie in Florida. I was producing a movie, and she was a dancer in the film.
Right. Well, that will do it. But if you didn't meet her, you could have went in a different direction.
If I didn't meet her, I'd probably be dead or in prison for the rest of my life. We had a big war in our family at one point, and a lot of guys got killed.
Wow.
I did a lot of damage. And if I was home, I would have been involved in it, no doubt.
What was the war over?
Leadership. It's always over.
Someone was trying to take control of the honeypot, right? The money's coming in.
Yeah.
Who's going to be at the top of that, right?
And you pick your side.
And you pick a
go to-
side.
yeah.
That's terrible, man. Yeah, that's no good. Well, you got lucky. You got the girl.
Blessed.
You got blessed. You got the girl, then the money, the wine, the podcast. Lucky guy. I'm blessed guy. I'm sorry, man. I keep going back to that.
Blessed.
And guess what? There's one more blessing for you because I did bring something to see your taste in gold chains. Okay. Because this is my business. I'm not in the pomegranate business, but you do get to pick a gold link.
No.
Okay. So I saw you wearing these chains. You got some chrome hearts or whatever it might be. I don't know. This is a Cuban link. It's a flat link right here. Okay. This one is a Franco. It's a 3-dimensional. This is some 3-tone. This is what I wear. I love this chain. Yellow gold, rose gold, and white gold. A modified rope Figaro, I call it. What do you think?
Well, here's the deal. I'm going to go away with a piece of jewelry. You're going to go away with a bottle of wine. What?
Sure, it's not bad.
But here,
What is the link you have on that they gave you?
what is this?
This is like it's called a Rolo link here, and this is a rope link here. This used to be, I think it's called a Rolo. Yeah.
Rolo. Well, I'm going to let my wife, who's off.
The wife's the boss. I should have brought stuff for the wife. Is what I should have did.
Yes. By the way, but we're going to do that for my 40th. But all of this that you see, the filming and everything, this young lady handles it all.
She's a special person.
And she won't come on camera, but
It's okay.
she's behind the scenes.
This is really beautiful too, the round one.
Yeah. So that's my business. That's what I do, and I'm very happy that I got a chance to plug in with you guys, and hopefully it's it's a community.
Well, when I come to New York, I'm going to come and visit you.
Yeah, I'll definitely show you. That would be a big privilege. I'll show you. You get a picture of what exactly I do.
Great.
I spent a lot.
Listen, I give you a lot of credit.
Thank you.
Obviously, you're blessed, but you worked hard to get there.
Sure.
And sometimes the blessings, you don't make your own blessings, but you work towards them.
Yeah. So I did well. What do you think of the podcast?
Terrific.
And I really appreciate you having me in your home. I've been watching you for a while.
Thank you.
And hey, the thing I would want people to carry over is that blessing that you were able to pull off for yourself, because you really did it, and it's pretty nice to see.
I owe it all to my God and my wife and just people that supported me, and very fortunate, I can tell you that.
Okay.
Blessed.
Blessed.
All right.
Let's do that.
I got it.
And then that. Thank you.
And really, thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Very, very nice.
It's good for business.
Well, there again, if you notice, this was more of a conversation. I had questions for him. He had questions for me. I guess he had curiosity with my life. I was certainly interested in his accomplishments and some of his perspective on things. Very interesting to me is that, at 38, he's still unmarried, and he's still out there looking for the right woman. And I give him credit for that. You heard what he said. He said, look, I don't want to be in a relationship and, then 20 years down the road, it's over. I want something permanent. So he's been, I guess pretty particular. And some of you women out there might say, well, why is he being so particular? Well, that's just who he is. And that's not something to demean in any way. I think it's something that's fairly admirable. He wants his marriage to be one that's going to last, So I enjoyed his perspective on that and his position. He also said it's a little rough finding women out there. And I guess some women say it's a little rough finding men out there. Well, maybe there's a matchup someplace. Maybe I can play Cupid. Who knows? But anyway, I really enjoyed this conversation. Very successful guy. I'm going to list his, or I should say, put a link to his company there. If you're into jewelry in any way, maybe he's your guy. He's got a great online platform, an online website that you can go and choose from. He said he can make anything that you want. I'm not his partner. I'm not selling for him. But I think he's entitled to that. I'll be doing some business with him in the future. You might have heard that during our conversation. So, hope you enjoyed it, my friends. And how do I always leave you? It's the very same way, never going to change. Be safe, be healthy. God bless each and every one of you, your families, your neighborhoods, your communities. And as far as the community is concerned, you should join mine, michaelfranzese.com/family. We've really had an influx of members, people looking for community, people looking to better themselves, people looking for relationships, people looking to improve their lives in some way, whether it be personally or in business. This is the platform for you. I promise you that. You're not going to be disappointed. You get a lot of me, a lot of my involvement in that. I have a great team behind me. We're putting a number of resources in there, all for your benefit. We're doing Zoom calls, Q&A, having on-site meetings. It's going to be great for you. I know that. michaelfranzese.com/family. Join it now. An offer you shouldn't refuse. And God bless it, each and every one of you. And yes, I'll see you next time.